and Assalamualaikum everyone. Today our group is going to present about the continuation of the topic Kingdom Animalia. Phylum Arthropoda. Arthropoda are the largest phylum in the animal kingdom and they exhibit the greatest diversity of the animal phyla. Arthropoda characteristics include having segmented bodies, having exoskeleton, paired and jointed appendages, have well-developed sense organs, and variety respiratory organs, and also they undergo metamorphosis process. For the first characteristic, which is segmented or metamerism, it is commonly known that the arthropods have many segments and each segment consists of one pair of appendages, which is its limbs or better known as their legs. Each segments are not internally divided by a septa and the organ systems are not metamerically arranged, which means that each segments have different organs and not repeatedly the same organs. And lastly, these segments are fused into body regions called stigmata. And the second characteristic is exoskeleton. These arthropods consist of exoskeleton composed of protein and chitin, which help protect the animal, provide attachment of muscles, and prevent desiccation. Desiccation is the drying out of an organism by removing water or extracting moisture. Exoskeleton is non-living and non-expanding. Thus, in order for the animals to grow, they require molting through a process called ecdysis, where arthropods shed their outer cuticle off. Next, paired and jointed appendages. Just like I explained earlier, arthropods have paired appendages for each segment and the appendages are used for locomotion, also to allow survival and adaptation, especially for walking, swimming, to reproduce, feeding, defense, or sensory reception. For the fourth characteristic, which is well-developed sense organs, arthropods have well-developed nervous system which consists of the brain and ventral solid nerve cord. Most organs are located at the anterior end of the animal, which is extensive cephalization. Its head and various sense organs, which include simple and compound eyes. Next is variety of respiratory organs. The evolution of many specialized organs for gaseous exchange depends on the habitats of the arthropods. Most aquatic species such as crabs and lobsters uses gills to undergo respiration, while for the terrestrial species such as grasshoppers uses the trachea as its respiratory organ. For the next characteristic, which is metamorphosis, this process causes drastic physiology changes on the arthropods from immature larva to adult. Larva eats different food and lives different environment from adult arthropods, which reduces competition and allows massive number of species at once. So, we have finished all 6 characteristics of arthropods. We are going to move on to the classification of Arthropoda, which is Crustacea, Diplopoda, Arachnida, Chilopoda, insect, and Merostomata. For the first class, which is class Crustacea, this class is the most abundant and familiar crustaceans are decapods, for instance, shrimps, lobsters, and crabs. They have 2 main body regions, which is the cephalothorax and abdomen. The cephalothorax is covered with hard shell called carapace, and this region consists of the head and also the thorax. Its swimmerets can be found at the abdominal segments, and they use gills to undergo respiration. Next is class Chilopoda. Their body is dorso-ventrally flattened, which means that the body is flat from both lower and upper surfaces. They are fast-moving predators. Chilopoda body regions are divided into 2, which are the head and the trunk. The head consists of a pair of antennae and a pair of simple eyes, while the trunk contains many body segments. Each segment has 1 pair of walking legs. Next is class Diplopoda. This class of arthropods have many segments on their body. The first 4 segments each have a pair of legs, while the following segments have 2 pair of legs each. This class mostly are herbivores and scavengers, which live on decayed plants and moist microhabitats. Next is class Insecta. The body regions includes the head, thorax, and abdomen. The head consists of large compound eyes, and a pair of antennae. Its mouth parts are modified for licking, piercing, and sucking, which consist of labrum, a pair of mandibles, a pair of maxillae, labium, and tongue-like hypopharynx. Most insects have two pairs of wings and three pairs of walking legs attached to a thorax. Still in class Insecta, insects' respiratory system has internal tubes and sacs. The gases either diffuse or actively pumped to deliver oxygen directly to the needed tissues by trachea. The air is taken through spiracles. Insects excrete nitrogenous waste by malphigian tubules. Besides that, their nervous system is complex, which includes a number of ganglia, a ventral and double nerve cord. Insects undergo complete metamorphosis, which develops from egg to larva to pupa to adult, and their shape change completely at adult stage. Some of them also undergo incomplete metamorphosis, which develops from egg to nymph and to adult. Newly hatched insects look like miniature adults and undergo shedding before becoming adults. Insects have their own way of adaptation. First is effective reproduction. Insects produce many offspring, with many species produced several generations a year. Other than that, they have small size, hence they need less energy and time for development and also to hide easily from predators. Besides that, insects are the only invertebrate that can fly. They have wings to disperse within habitats and allow rapid movement to escape from predators. Lastly, this class have the ability to communicate with each other in many ways. For example, male moths communicate by sensing pheromones from female moths. The fifth class is class Arachnida. They are egg-legged arthropods, for example, scorpions and spiders. They have two body regions, which is cephalothorax and abdomen. Cephalothorax has 6 pairs of appendages, and the first pair are modified into fang-like structures for feeding and defense. The second pair are modified into pedipalps, also for feeding and also for locomotion and reproductive. They use trachea or gill-like structures for respiration, and arachnids does not have any antenna or wings. And so for the last class of arthropods is class Merastomata, which they are extinct species such as horseshoe crabs. Its whole body are covered by carapace and bears a pair of simple eyes and compound eyes. Their body are divided into two regions, which are the cephalothorax, which includes the walking legs, and also the abdomen, which consists of fused segments. Lastly, they also have a long, spike-like tail called telson, which are used for locomotion.
The characteristics of Mollusca are bilaterally symmetrical and triploblastic, means they have 3 primary germ layers, which are the ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm. Molluscs have a soft body protected by hard shell. Their shell are mainly composed of calcium carbonate. Some molluscs, for example octopus and slugs, do not have a shell. It is believed that their shell may be lost due to evolution. For molluscs such as squid, their shell are reduced in size and located inside their bodies. It is also known as pen.
Molluscs have 3 distinct body regions, which are head, foot, visceral mass, and mantle. The first region is head, foot, which contains sensory and motor organs. For some molluscs, the head includes their mouth, eyes, and tentacles. Their foot has modified muscle that are responsible for locomotion. The visceral mass is located above foot and includes all of the molluscs' well-developed digestion, excretion, and reproduction organs. These organs include a 3-chambered heart in most molluscs and 3 separate hearts in cephalopods. The third region is mantle, which is a specialized tissue. It covers visceral mass and contains glands that secrete shell. Mantle cavities surround the gills that are used for respiration and exit pores for the digestive and reproductive system.
Most molluscs have toothed tongue or radula that is mainly composed of chitin and is used to scrape off algae and other food from rocks. However, bivalves such as clams do not have radula because they eat by filtering water through their gills to obtain organic particles. Mollusc is a coelomate animal. Coelomate refers to animals that have a body cavity called a coelom. Molluscs have complete digestive tract that starts at the head with the mouth extended to the esophagus and ends at the anus, which is located in the front of the mental cavity. They also have complex nervous system that varies across species. The nervous system of molluscs varies greatly depending on the particular class, but it is generally more complex than those of roundworms or flatworms. Cephalopods have the most complicated nervous system found in any invertebrates. Besides, molluscs possess an open circulatory system in which body fluid, called hemolymph, is transported largely within sinuses devoid of distinct epithelial walls. Phylum Mollusca is a very diverse group of mostly marine species. It has over 85,000 of species. Molluscs have a dramatic variety of form ranging from large predatory squids and octopus, some of which show a high degree of intelligence, to grazing forms with elaborately sculpted and colored shell. This phylum can be divided into three classes, which are Bivalvia, Gastropoda, and Cephalopoda. Gastropods is the largest group of molluscs. Animals in class gastropod include well-known molluscs such as snails and slugs. Gastropod includes shell-bearing species as well as species with a reduced shell. These animals are asymmetrical and usually have a coiled shell. Most gastropods bear a head that includes their tentacles and eyes. A complex radula is used by the digestive system and aids in the ingestion of food. Eyes may be absent in some gastropod species. For aquatic gastropods, the gills are found in mental cavity.
Cephalopoda means head foot, and this group has the most complex brain of any invertebrate. Cephalopods are characterized by a completely merged head and foot with a ring of arms and tentacles surrounding the head. The arms, tentacles, and funnel are all derived from the foot. The mantle surrounds the visceral sac and possess strong muscles that are required for contraction of the cavity and respiration. Cephalopods have sacs that contain black fluid. The fluid will be released as they feel threatened or excited. Besides, to protect themselves from predators, they display vivid coloration typically seen in squids and octopus, which is used for camouflage. Locomotion in cephalopods is accomplished mainly by jet propulsion. To close its mantle completely, a squid fits two cartilaginous ridges on the mantle wall into two cartilaginous grooves on the opposite funnel wall. Contraction of circular muscles around the mantle cavity then force water out the funnel. The funnel can be aimed, allowing the animal to change its direction.
Class Bivalvia include clams, oysters, and scallops. Members of this class are found in marine as well as freshwater habitats. As the name suggests, bivalves are enclosed in a pair of shells that are hinged at the end of the dorsal by shell ligaments as well as shell teeth. These animals are suspension feeders, meaning they eat material such as plankton that is suspended in the water around them. Due to their diet, this class of mollusks lacks a radula. This class have food that usually compress. Bivalves often possess a large mantle cavity. One of the functions of the mantle is to secrete the shell. They also have ciliated gills, which are used for respiration to exchange oxygen and carbon dioxide. Gills of bivalves function in both respiratory and feeding roles.
So next is phylum Echinodermata. So there are seven characteristics of Echinodermata. So first is hyperplastic, colobate and unsegmented body. Second, it has lacking brain and textile organ. Third, it has bilaterally symmetrical larvae, radially symmetrical adults. Next, Echinodermata also have presence of internal skeleton.
It also have a unique water vascular system that form tube feet. They are mainly filter feeder and most of them are sexually reproduced. The classification of Echinodermata. There are 5 classes in phylum Echinodermata. So first is class of Asteroidea, which is starfish. Next is class of Holoturoidea, which is sea cucumber. Third class of Crinoidea, which is sea feather. Fourth class of Ophiuroidea, which is brittle star. And lastly, class of Echinoidea, which is the sea urchin. The characteristic of Asteroidea is it has 5 arms radiating from the central disc with their mouths located on the underside, which is on the oral surface. Next, the movement depends on the water vascular system to stretch their tube feet. So, example of class of Asteroidea is starfish. Next, the characteristic of Holoturoidea is it is bilateral symmetry. So, Holoturians are also called sea cucumber. They have elongated, muscular, and also flexible body with a mouth at one end and the anus at the other. So around the mouth, there are a number of tentacles which are modified tube feet used for feeding. So the sea cucumber are moving using tube feet. So the characteristic of Echinoidea is it has radially symmetrical body with an external chitinous skeleton. So the example of Echinoidea is sea urchin. So the mouth is on the underside of the body and the anus is on the upper side of the animals. So the skeleton of sea urchin, known as the test, is a rigid shell made of flat and fused calcareous ossicle. The characteristic of Ophiuroidea is it have twisted central disc with smaller than starfish and long flexible arms. So example of Ophiuroidea is brittle star, which are the most mobile echinoderm. So brittle star have no anus and the wings are eliminated through the mouth which is situated on the underside center. So the skeleton are made of ossicle.
So we'll move on to phylum Chordata. Chordates must have the 5 following characteristics at some point during their life history, which is a dorsal supporting rod called notochord, a dorsal tubular nerve cord, pharyngeal pouches or slits, a post-anal tail, and myotoms. Based on the first characteristic, notochord is located just below the nerve cord. The embryonic notochord is replaced by the vertebral column during development. Next, dorsal tubular nerve cord. This nerve cord develops as a hollow tube above the notochord. These nerve cords are often called as spinal cords in vertebrates. The nerve cord of the embryo will develop into the central nervous system, which consists of the brain and spinal cord. Next is pharyngeal pouches or slits. The slits and the structure that support chordates are modified for gas exchange, jaw support, hearing, and other functions during vertebrate evolution. The fourth characteristic, most chordates have a muscular tail that extends posterior to the anus called the post-anal tail. In humans, it regresses into the tailbone and wagging tail in other mammals. Lastly, myotoms. The muscles of the chordate body are segmented into blocks called myotoms. Muscles are attached to the skeleton to provide movement. Chordata are divided into 4 subphyla. First, subphylum Urochordata, which is sea squirt. Subphylum Hemichordata, which is acornworm. Subphylum Cephalochordata, which is lancelet. And lastly, subphylum Vertebrata, such as tiger. Firstly, we'll have a look at the characteristics of subphylum Vertebrata. All subphylum Vertebrata must possess the 5 chordate characteristics I mentioned earlier. They have a distinctive feature of skeletal elements such as bones and cartilage in the cranium. The embryonic notochord is replaced by a vertebral column composed of individual vertebrae. Vertebrates have a higher degree of cephalization and complex sense organs are concentrated in the head. Vertebrates also have an advanced closed circulatory system. Subphylum Vertebrata are divided into 6 classes, which is class Chondrichthyes, class Osteichthyes, class Amphibia, class Reptilia, class Aves, class Mammalia.
Chondrichthyes is a class that contains the cartilaginous fishes that have skeletons primarily composed of cartilage. For example, sharks, rays, and skates. This class lacks an operculum, which is a gill cover. However, they have gill slits. They need to swim with their mouth open so that water can enter their mouth, flows over the gills, and exit the gill slits. Moreover, they don't have a swim bladder that is used to control buoyancy. Therefore, they need to constantly swim to prevent from sinking to the bottom of the ocean. Class Osteichthyes includes all bony fishes and eels that can be found in both salt and freshwater. Like all fishes, Osteichthyes are cold-blooded vertebrates that breathe through gills and use fins for swimming. In this type of fish, oxygen is exchanged via gills, which are covered by an operculum. However, a few species have actual lungs. For example, the lungfish. Their lung is a modified swim bladder, which in most fish is used for buoyancy in swimming, but the lungfish also absorbs oxygen and removes waste. Lastly, their swim bladder is an air sac used to control buoyancy. Unlike the shark, bony fish can hold still at any depth and not sink. Amphibians, for instance, newts, salamanders, frogs, toads, and caecilians are tetrapods. This means they have 2 pairs of limbs that make them able to move on land. Amphibians have thin, soft, and moist skin to absorb oxygen. Most of the amphibians lack scales except for caecilians. They are ectothermic animals. Their body temperature depends on the environment, for example, sunlight. Amphibians have 3-chambered heart, include 2 atria and 1 ventricle. Most amphibians undergo complex metamorphosis. Complex metamorphosis refers to a change in body form in which the animal displays a striking change in appearance over the course of its development. Reptiles are amniotes, which refer to animals whose eggs are protected from desiccation and other environmental issues by an extra membrane known as the amnion. The outer layer of the egg is covered by a leathery or calcium-based shell to allow the eggs to be laid on land. Unlike amphibians, their eggs have a jelly-like outer layer and need to be laid in water. Reptiles have horny epidermal scales that protect them from abrasion and loss of body moisture. Many turtles use the moist surface of their cloaca for gas exchange, while other reptiles breathe by using their lungs. The cloaca is the opening through which the turtle excretes, urinates, and lays its eggs. Aves refers to the bird class. Birds are endothermic, means they can maintain a constant body temperature independent of the environment. The feathers help in flight, regulate body temperature, display, and pre-hiding through coloration. Unlike amphibians, class Aves have 4-chambered heart, include 2 atria and 2 ventricles. The skeletons of birds are described as lightweight to minimize the energy required for flight. The bird's forelimbs are also modified as wings to help in their flight.
The 3 characteristics of mammals that cannot be found in other animals are: mammals have hair and 3 middle ear bones that increase their sensitivity to sound. They also have mammary glands that produce milk. Moreover, mammals have developed brains and highly differentiated teeth to obtain food more efficiently and extract nutrients more quickly and thoroughly. They are endothermic animals. Different species of mammals have evolved to live in terrestrial and aquatic habitats. Examples of aquatic mammals are whale and dolphin. Mammals can be generally classified into 3 subclasses based on their reproduction system, which are monotremes, marsupials, and eutherian. Monotremes refers to animals that lay egg. Only two kinds of egg-laying mammals are left on the planet today. For example, platypus and echidna. A marsupial is a mammal that raises its newborn inside an external pouch at the front or underside of their bodies, such as koala and kangaroo. In contrast, an eutherian is a mammal that completes embryo development inside the mother, nourished by an organ called the placenta.
Next is the phylum evolutionary relationship in the animal kingdom. So basically, the relationship can be classified into five relationships, which is first, level of organization, germ layers, body plan, which is symmetry, body cavity, and also segmentation or metamerism. So first is level of organization. So animals have been classified into two clades, which is parazoa and eumetazoa. So parazoa basically means the animal cells are loosely associated and do not form through tissue. For example, like sponges, which is phylum Porifera. And next, eumetazoa are animals with well-defined tissue layers. Next, germ layers. So germ layers is the three layers of tissue that become established during early embryonic development. So there are three types of germ layers, which is first, ectoderm. So ectoderm basically is the outer germ layer that gives rise to the outer covering of the body and the nervous tissue. So next is endoderm. So endoderm is an inner germ layer that forms the lining of the digestive tube and other structures such as liver and lungs in vertebrates. And lastly is mesoderm. So mesoderm is between the ectoderm and endoderm. Mesoderm develop into other body structures such as muscles, skeletal structures, and also reproductive organs. So germ lay in dipoblastic animals, they have two germ layers, which is ectoderm and endoderm, while in tripoblastic animal, they have three germ layers, which is ectoderm, endoderm, and also mesoderm. So, so sponges are lack the three germs layer, which is they don't have any germ layers. The second relationship is body plan, which is symmetry. So symmetry is an arrangement of body structure in the relation of body axis. So there are three types of symmetry, which is bilateral symmetry, radial symmetry, and also asymmetry. So bilateral symmetry is a one plane of symmetry, which is animal can be divided through only one plane that pass through the midlines of the body. Second, radial symmetry. So radial symmetry have many planes of symmetry. For example, starfish. It has the body of starfish has general form of real multiple planes that can be drawn to the central axis. Last is asymmetry. So asymmetry have no plane of symmetry. So example of asymmetrical is sponges. So there are many advantage of bilateral symmetry. One of them is it allows parts of the body to evolve in different ways, permitting different organs to be located in different parts of the body. Next, it allows animals to move from one place to another. Lastly, the advantage are the complexity of sense organ at the front end, allows cephalization. So cephalization is the evolutionary trend toward nervous system, centralization, and the development of a head and brain. Relationship number 3 is body cavity. So body cavity or column is a fluid filled space that separates the digestive tract, which is the gut and internal organ, from the rest of the body. So the advantage of body cavity is it allows extensive growth of organs. Next is also permit formation of an efficient circulatory system with a heart that can pump blood through the vessel without being restricted by compact body. And lastly, the fluid in the column can transport or move material faster than by diffusion, which is that's the internal organs in fluid nutrients so that nutrient and waste can diffuse into and out from the body.